things, one of the books I want everybody to own, who buy books? I know, yeah, we do e-books and all that stuff, you know. But if you're one of these people that like to read, here's a book that you must have. It's called The Power of Focus. And it's by a name of Canberry, what's his name again? Blueberry. Maybe I have everything there. The Power of, Jack Canfield. Everybody should own that book, and that's the type of book you need to read, I would say, every 4 or 5 months. Because you need to refocus yourself. We live in an unfocused world. Everybody agree on that?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
Right? So if you live in an unfocused world, who's going to get you to stay focused? Who's going to keep you focused?
Jack Canfield.
Jack Canfield.
Jack Canfield.
Yeah. The Power of Focus. He's got a few editions. I like the first one he wrote because to me, I've been reading that so many times now. I pull it out, I give it to people. And that's something you might want to practice too with your downline. Like you've got somebody working your business, throw them a book like Think and Grow Rich, tell them they're a winner, put them in there. Then you got a book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? Because we saw how some people don't know what that means, how to win friends and influence people. Some people think how to destroy your friends and kill your enemies. So you got to read that book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. But the Power of Focus will certainly teach you some habits. See, everything is a habit. Like if you wanted to do business, the first 21 days, you probably won't do any business. But after the 21st day, you got into a habit. You're now doing the business, right? Anything you want to do in 21 days, make it a habit, right? Anything you want to do, you'll get good at it just by making it a habit, right? I told you guys before, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect, right? So how important it is that you stay focused where you're going here. Each and every one of you, you don't want to be just an insurance producer. You want to build a team, right? You want to build a team of producers. That's why if you look at the company, the RPM, 5x5 and 25, and you go to National Marketing Director, there's no excuses now for anybody to say, well, this one is holding me back, or this one, I got to sign contracts. Hey, look, it's clear. He's right back there. I didn't make that up, right? Our new BOP actually has that slide in it. 5x5 and 25. So anybody can get to the executive position. The reason you want to get to the executive position in this company, there's something called generation overrides. And generation overrides mean that if I'm a vice chairman, the person, Dewey put me in this business, I don't call Dewey every 2 minutes and tell him I got somebody that needs appointing, or can you run this illustration for me, or can you talk to this person? That's okay, right? When you first start. But if you're a national marketing director and above, you got to make sure you got to hold the responsibility of passing this business on to people and have the responsibility of building it and showing people how exactly are you doing it and who do you get that from. Well, I believe you should follow your upline. If your upline is not doing the right thing, go to the next upline. But you got to make sure that your upline is in tune in the direction where the company's going in. That's the key right here to being successful in this business. You've got to be in the direction of the company. Where the direction the company's going, that's where we're going. And don't be kidding around with Dan a lot. Oh, the BPM changes every week. You know what? If they got to change it every week, we're changing every week. Right? Because the only thing that's constant in life is what? Changes. Every day you wake up and you think something is perfect, tomorrow morning it changes. Right? So that's one of the things as a leader, you got to learn how to adapt as changes start to move forward. Right? Eric will tell you he works in the police department for what, 30 years? 20. 20 years, right? 30. Wow, you look young. I thought you started when you were 10. Right? But if you went to the police department, they have a memo that tells you everything that you need to do. And if you don't do it, those are the cops that don't make it. If they don't follow the training, the protocol, all the things that you might walk into there and say, well, that's not important to me. Well, it is important if you want to stay alive. Right or wrong? Right? So you got to pay attention to the details. If you want to become successful, you got to pay attention to the details of being successful. And one of the things that make people successful, totally successful, is their environment. So with the environment that we're creating, the culture that we're creating, every time you meet people, and many of you, I ask you, where you're at, how much business you've done, how many recruits have you done so far, where are you at for the month? Where we ask you where you're at, we don't want to figure out exactly that you're not doing nothing. I want to know how we can help you. Because if you got to do 7 by 7 for the month, and if you're licensed in here, you need to make sure you do 7 applications a month and 7 recruits a month. I don't care about the 50 and the 100, but you got to make sure that you accomplish the 7 by 7, because you're the one that's going to lead the business by example. You're the one that people are going to come to answers. And the way you give answers to people is because you're in the field learning the business and showing other people the business. So if you're not in the field, could you have answers? No, but what do you tell people? So you got to make sure that you're leading by example. You're showing this business. And by the way, Artwell, you said the first 18 months you go into any business, the first 18 months you go into any business, everything you touch is going to turn to crap. Everything you touch. So even what's even worse is some people, they can't understand, well, the company don't have this yet, or we don't have this yet. Let me tell you something. For what this company have right now, it has everything for any one of us to go build $1 billion business. We don't need nothing more. Okay, everything else that they bring is great, but we don't need nothing more. What we need is the mindset, right? We need the mindset of doing it first, being a doing it first type of leader. So when you leave here tomorrow, you got to ask yourself, how many appointments do you have set up for the next 72 hours? Because if you're going to learn how to give coach, you're going to learn how to do term insurance, return to premium, you're going to learn all these products, all the insurance, the health insurance, you're going to learn P&C. If you don't go and show people what you got, you'll forget that information. So when you get this information, you want to get out there and start using it. Right? It's like a doctor that go to medical school. If they don't become a doctor, go practice medicine, but 10 years later, you're ready for a heart attack, a surgery. Are you calling that guy didn't practice for 10 years? Well, let me tell you, in our business, 10 years is like 10 days. 10 years is like 10 days because you don't use things, you forget them right away. So you got to implement everything that we're talking about, how you can go out there and actually start putting your pen to paper. Start understanding you're in a business where you must have an income stream. If you're not focused on an income stream, you'll just go get a license. You ever meet people that have every license in the world? Right? I mean, every license, every time you see them, they study it. But that's all well and good, but you got to learn how to put that to practicality. You got to learn to understand that if you don't make an income stream in this business, you know what's going to happen? Eventually, you'll be out of business. Then you'll blame your upline, you'll blame ORG, you'll blame SME, you'll blame them, you'll blame the company, and then meanwhile, it's the guy looking in the mirror that ain't want to take that extra step to do what he needs to get the job done. Because we're in an industry where you got to work when most people don't work. See, most people get 9 to 5 to 8:65, and then at 8:65 they give them a watch, right? And it ain't a Rolex, it's a Timex, right? And then they give them half pay. You don't want to make sure that happens to you. You want to make sure you come into a business for a couple of $100, a couple of $1,000 a year, self-improvement, you're building your business, and you have a business that's going to up and run. And everything that you need to learn, the company's going to show us how to do it. Everything. We don't have to invent anything. We got to be like Walmart. Walmart don't manufacture anything. How come they sell everything? We don't manufacture insurance products. We don't manufacture health insurance and car insurance and land banking and seed. We don't manufacture none of those. So we're just like Walmart. But the thing is with us, Walmart got people coming to them. Right? They know every day they open that store, X amount of people are going to come to them. Our business works the opposite way. We don't need thousands of people coming to us. What we need to do is make sure every 72 hours we got between 3 and 5 appointments. If you master that in this business, you will be a top income earner in this company. Am I right, Dan?
That's exactly it.
You have 3 to 5 appointments, and every 72 hours, and never go on those appointments alone. Take somebody with you, let them sit down and see what you're doing, because when you walk away, they'll be able to take the ball and run with it. Now, with that being said, has everybody had a good time yesterday? Yeah. Okay, great. Well, we got a lot to cover today. I mean, we got so much to cover today. I'm going to let Sattie actually kick this off this morning, because I want to make sure what she's got to cover that we get it in. We got to get it in right now. So you got the next 24, 48 hours to ask questions, digest, because what we're going to be showing you right now is how you're going to be able to put people in the system and you'll be able to help your new recruits, because when you bring a new baby in the world, you don't throw them in a crib and say, go get your own damn bottle. Right? You don't do that to them, right? Well, our business now, everybody's up and walking here. So now we're going to walk you where the school is. We're going to walk you where the products are. We're going to walk you how the company works. We're going to walk you through all those type of things. So you can actually now gravitate to all of those things, put your arms around them, and then you're able to leave here, and whether it's Virginia, whether it's LA, you're able to go back and say, and now I have a clear understanding what I need to do, and you have your business get going. But it starts with you leading from the front. So I want to bring up Sattie here this morning, and you know, she's a lady, she went to bed 2 o'clock this morning, 1:30 this morning, she's still printing stuff. I don't know what she printed. 1 o'clock in the morning, still printing. Because she don't want to leave anything out. She want to make sure that when you leave here, that all your T's is crossed, all your I's are dotted. And it's so important that you guys do that. I'm proud of everybody that's showing up for this type of training, because this is what you really need in your business right now to explode this thing. So Sattie, are you ready?
1 second, please.
1 second. Anybody had any questions from yesterday? Wow, this is good.
What I do, there's some questions I want to ask people while she's getting ready.
What's that?
I'm going to ask people some questions that's going to be part of the Superstar. There's 10 questions.
You want to come up while she gets ready? So we don't waste any time?
Yeah.
Let's give Dan a big hand. See you over here.
This is going to tie into what Rocky was talking about having that attitude. Having that attitude and starting every day, everything you're doing with that right. And what I did inside of what you'll see as our Superstar manual, which pretty much takes off on what we're doing here. What we'll do is we're going to have 3 sections. The Superstar will be the first 100 days. Then what Rocky's doing right now, we'll make this the next training. So there'll be multiple trainings. But there's something in the letter. I wrote a letter for Jim Files, myself, the CEO and president. Letter that's going to be at the front of the Superstar. So when someone joins, you're going to give them that big fat manual. Okay? But you're also going to tell them you're going to walk them through that big fat manual. But there's a part in here. I created what I call the CAN. It's called the coachability number. Think that's important for us?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a coachability number, and we're telling people right off the bat that we want to know, are you coachable coming in? Because if you're not going to succeed. Okay? So you can ask yourself this right now, and you really have to be honest with yourself, because ultimately if you answer no to any of these questions, I'm going to tell you what our reaction is going to be. Okay? Because you as a leader, this is for you. Imagine now you're asking a new person these questions. Okay? Don't let them fill them out by themselves. Sit down with them and ask them. First thing is, and you have to ask yourself, am I open to change? First question. Really open to change. Not the kind of bull that you might tell yourself, oh yeah, look at me, I'm open to change. Are you really open to change? Are you really willing to do the things you have to do? That's number one. You have to answer that. The second one is, am I willing to leave my ego at the door and focus on my family's financial security? Truly. Doesn't matter what you've done before, doesn't matter who you are you really willing to leave your ego at the door and focus on one thing, and that's your family's financial security? Number 3, am I willing to try new concepts or different ways of doing things? I don't care if you've been in the insurance industry like me for 32 years, are you really willing to try the system and do it right? Truly willing. Number 4, am I willing to follow a proven system that is focused on, as Rocky talks about, results through commitments, responsibility, and accountability? Are you really willing to go through that ringer? Is that easy to go through, Rocky?
Discipline.
It's not, but is it worth it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Am I willing to do whatever's necessary to stop or change the wrong, negative, and self-defeating thoughts, talk, and actions that lead to bad results? Truly, are you willing? Do I have goals that I'm serious about achieving? And we're not saying just that you state them, that you're truly serious and do anything to achieve. Do I believe the advice I receive can help me achieve my goals, or am I going to fight it every step of the way? Am I willing to sincerely try and implement the advice I receive into my business and my life? Am I willing to follow advice and guidance without deviating from the system? Am I willing to teach others the exact system and processes I've been taught? What do you think about those 10 questions?
Great stuff.
Okay, so I really just sat and thought, how can I really ask the questions that every one of us should be asking ourselves and every member that joins us? And these aren't easy questions. Easy questions, you're not going to get anything out of them. Hard questions that really might hurt us a little bit and make us self-analyze. You know, you look in the mirror and you have to answer these questions for yourself. You can't just ask these questions to the people you recruit, can you? It's not going to work. It's not even powerful. You got to answer them yourself. Now, here's when they're reading this through, and I probably read this whole memo to them at the beginning. If you truly answered yes to all 10 questions, you're fully coachable. Everybody believe that? And agree with that?
Yeah.
Anybody not agree with that? So if they truly can answer yes, do you think that, Rocky, that someone would be coachable? Sure. They answer yes? I think so. So you're invited to move ahead immediately. We're not going to take any more 99%ers. We're not going to move any 99%ers forward. It's either they're 100% or they're not moving forward.
Right.
That's our culture. If you answered no to any question, please sit down with your leader and discuss the aspects of how you can work as quickly as possible to turn your no's into yeses. Because you're not moving forward unless you're going to be fully coachable. Everybody understand that? Is that a good or bad culture to have?
Good.
It's the only culture. Okay, it's the only culture. And that's just part of what we're doing, because this manual will create a culture from the beginning. That's the first thing they're going to see. They're going to go through this. They're going to get a message from Jim Fowles and myself saying, this is our company, this is how we do it. And now we're going to find out, truly, should you be in our company from the beginning? And guess what happens when you exclude someone because they deviate, they can't answer yes to all these things? Guess what's going to happen? One of two things. They're going to know they shouldn't be here and they're going to get the heck out. Or guess what they're going to do? Go with the system. And isn't that what we want? Do we want anyone hanging on in the middle? Have you seen very many people succeed hanging on in the middle? They don't. And what happens if people hang on the middle and they're part of your team? Doesn't that drag you down a little bit? It's a virus. And even though they say, I'm here, oh yeah, rah, rah, I'm here, guess what? It's like a dormant virus that's always with you. You don't want them here. Okay? So I just wanted to cover that. Is that enough time for Sattie?
She's ready.
All right. Those are straight pretty much from Rocky's head. He didn't know he was sleeping one day. I stuck these electrodes on his head and they stole that.
All right, she's going to come up, the binder that you have, I want everybody to know, it's a black or white binder where you can go home. Everything that you have in that binder, you have already in email. So if you want to make it color, you can go home, print it color, do all that stuff. All right? We run this lean and mean, so we don't want to charge you more money, so we didn't make it color. Right? So you appreciate that, right?
Yeah.
You have more money for drink. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to her. We're going to start on this morning. Well, I'll let her tell your agenda. I don't know. Give her a big hand.
I love this crowd. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Sorry about the wait out there, but just so you guys know, it takes time to get this stuff printed, and especially we're not in Fort Lauderdale, so I can't just run in my office and pick up, a few little things here and there. So when we're asking you all to register early, there's a reason, because we have to really get prepared. So basically what happened was a last-minute rush. We were ordering things, but the day before we were flying here, Zooey and I were going back and forth trying to order, trying to get things sent out for printing and so forth. Our hold up was we had to actually go to UPS this morning to actually pick up these things. So it was crazy. So, we apologize. Right, we apologize, but like I said, we need your help to register for these things early, so it'll give us time to get this prepared for you. Now, I'm sorry some of these may not have fit in there really nice and pretty like I would normally like them to be done, so there are things going to be missing. I have a lot of extras, so I know for sure there are things missing, right? So anyone that's missing things, we're going to go through section by section. Only a few parts I'm going to cover. Some majority of this is Zooey, and I have to say thank you very much because he was really instrumental in preparing all of this, and it takes time, guys. So, just understand we are really putting all our time and effort into getting every tool you guys need to make the business successful. You're going to go through portions of this, and I'm going to go through portions of this. What I want to do is cover the last section, and it's really miscellaneous stuff. And again, if you're missing items, let me know because I do have, and I'm going to make sure you all get everything. Okay, so tell me what you're missing, and I'll make sure you get it. Like I'll hand it to you so you can run through it today. There's a lot more information to be provided to you all tomorrow. So I'll bring in things, so we'll add to this. That's why I have extra tabs. Just so you guys know, there's a lot of extra room there, but a lot more information to come. All right, so anybody missing anything that it says, the last section is called building blocks. Anybody missing to that section? Very first.
Oh, the whole package.
You want the whole
Look,
You missed the only need one. You need two.
oh, you have it?
Everybody has. All the way to the back. All the way to the back.
The last
Very,
time.
very back. Yes, the whole section.
I just see from here.
Okay, so anyway,
I need one more. Have an extra one right here. There we go.
anyway, sorry about that, but like I said, we were going kind of in a rush to get things to you all. So whatever you don't have, you must be going to get you replacements for it. So basically what it is, and I'm going to let Zui cover some of these things. I'm going to just go through some of the things here. So I'm going to skip the, last year covered FNA, right? So let me see. I'm going to do the ORG. I'm going to do the portion of how to get quotes. And I'm going to run a couple little ones for you, not really anything major, because tomorrow we're taking this into a whole other level with, as far as running illustrations and so forth, right? I'm going to run two types of illustrations, and Zui, you could run the audio and everything else, right? And some of the more complex stuff. So what I want to do is, I'm going to just point out a couple things here. You all have a couple loose pages. If you don't, somebody's going to punch holes for you, so that was really nice of them. It's called quote sheets, right? There's ORG quote sheets. There's one for term-wide, and there is one for universal and whole life, right? Those two sheets there. Now, those of you that are not familiar with the industry and don't know the questions to ask, this is what happens. And, you know, and I'm going to give you my point of view with this, and then you all can do an analysis how you want to handle it as you get trained and you implement your own system. All right, so right now, these two sheets, it might have holes punched, just, you know, just look at these two sheets for right now, okay? It's in your cover. It's in your cover.
I got a bunch of them mixed up.
What section?
Yeah, you happen to miss something, don't worry, because we are going to email out one more time. You should be able to print it from the email.
But I'll bring some extras that you guys can have tomorrow. Whatever you're missing, we're going to have, okay? I'm not going through line by line. I'm just telling you what these things are meant for, okay? So these are from ORG website. You go in, when you're going in and you're running for them, exactly where it is. So you go to ORG Corp. Those are licensed people, okay? Not unlicensed people. Go to orgcorp.com, and then you're going to go to, we're going to go to Life, right? And I was going to ask you to bring some, whoever has laptops tomorrow, you can bring your laptops, that would be good. Okay? So you can go to Life, and you can go to Life Quotes, right? You just move the cursor over the quotes, and you hit the quotes. And these forms right here is right here on the site. I didn't create anything, I promise. I would get in trouble by that. So this here, you would go on, you would get the request form quote right here. Right here is request a term quote, request a whole life quote. These are the forms, okay? And the reason we're telling you to use this, if you really don't understand it, I hear a lot of people say just call ORG, and I have nothing against calling ORG, but this is what, and they've been great to me, and I learned a lot from them. So I'm not telling you don't go to ORG, but I'm telling you, just be ready for a waiting period of time there sometimes, right? Sometimes they're not going to get back to you immediately. And the reason is, many of you will say, okay, I'm going to rely on ORG. And I don't want you to rely on ORG. I want you to go get field training. And the reason I'm telling you this is, when you go to ORG and you're requesting a quote, they're going to give you what you're asking. And 99% of the time, you don't know what you're asking. Okay? Especially if you're new. I'm not telling you for the seasoned people. Those of you that don't know the industry, you don't know what you're asking. So what happens is they're going to send you exactly what you're asking for. When you get that, you're probably going to say, oh, well, this doesn't look too good. So I don't want you to discount that the company doesn't know or the products are no good. It's what you asked for, right? So they're giving you what you asked for. So a seasoned person will know exactly what to do here. Now, my concern here is you're gonna get what ORG sent you. You're either gonna go one way or the other. You're gonna go, well, I don't really like this, it's not making sense to me, and you just kind of blow it off. Or you're gonna say, okay, I'm just going with this. And this may not be the best product for your client, because you don't really know what suitability is. You're just getting little bits of information, and you're just like shooting in the air and say, here's what I want, I'm gonna go sell this to the client. And you're either gonna get the client, and if you do, the client, somebody else gonna go and replace that policy. And that's the biggest fear, is you don't want your policy, my fear at least, I don't want my policies replaced. So basically what I'm saying is, this is just basically a guide of what you need information from your client. I'm not telling you ever to send all this information to ORG. These are basic information for you to keep in your file on each client. I'm not telling you to lie about anything, but there's certain information you're gonna give, and there's certain information you're gonna let them ask you for if there's anything needed. The other thing is I gather information on the client, because the worst thing you can do is go back and forth with a client 10 times, I need this, I need this, I need this. Then you don't look very professional as far as I'm concerned. So you gather all the information, we have different worksheets here. We're gonna go through, gather, write notes in the back, whatever it is that you're gonna know for your clients, if you're not running back and forth, okay? And then again, if there's a complicated question and so forth, then of course you call and you ask the question. But if you sell a quote and you're requesting a quote from them, they'll give it to you, they'll email you back a quote. But then what might happen is they'll say 24 hours for the next time you request that this is not exactly what you want. So now you're waiting maybe another 24 hours, maybe longer. And now by then, your client might be upset, well, how long could it take to get a quote and so forth? So if you're not getting exactly, it could be 24 hours, 48 hours, and so on and so forth, right? So field training, again, I think is the most important thing. This is just basically information and questions you want to ask clients when you're starting with them, right? So I want you to take a look at this, because tomorrow we'll go really into detail with this. Tomorrow is basically mostly the kitchen table, and we're going to go through scenarios after scenarios, right? So one form is for term. Term is very, very simple in my opinion. And then the rest of the other one is either whole life or universal, and so you use the form for the other one. So those are the two forms that you all have here, which is on the website as well. So since we're here, I'm going to put an illustration of a couple terms for you all to see that this is really a simple thing. And I've heard people call ORG to run term quotes, and I think that's kind of ridiculous, because you've got the tool right there, right? So to run a term quote, you basically just, exactly what I did, I didn't change anything, I just showed you where to get the form. And there's two different areas here. You can run a term quote right here, right? And then WinFlex Web is to run permanent insurance. We all know term is temporary insurance, right? So least expensive and so forth, but it's temporary insurance. And then WinFlex Web is really meant to use for whole life and universal policies, more intense, right? So our team, and I don't know if Dan is allowed to hear this, but our team we created because some of you are licensed and you're requesting to get contracted, appointed with the carriers. And we all know if you don't have business to submit with the carrier, sometimes they'll not approve you. So what happens next is we created like a dummy password, almost use right your password. For those of you that are licensed and they don't have access to WinFlex Web, let me know and I'll give you it. I don't give it to everybody that doesn't have a license. So that's something I keep on the side, and I will give it to you if you give me proof your license and so forth if I don't know. And so we'll give you use right your passwords to be able to run the illustrations. When we run the illustrations with WinFlex Web, we're going to run different scenarios tomorrow. So we'll touch bases on that. So just keep in mind, if anybody's licensed, you don't have access to run WinFlex Web, to run the illustrations, let us know, we'll get you the access, okay? So I'm going to run just a few little things here. So we're going to go to run term quote. Okay, simple. So I'm going to just put one on myself. I am.
0, 8, 0, 1.
No order on this. All right, sorry.
0, 8, 0, 1.
Okay. Now, normally, remember, I'm going to different scenario. Rocky's going to come in and do the FNAs, right, Doc?
Yeah.
All right. So we also have the FNA, but we're going to cover that in a minute. Again, tomorrow we're taking it beginning to end. This is just a few quick things we're gonna do here. So, as far as insurance-wise, right, I would normally ask the client, I would do the FNA, I would get the numbers, I would see whatever the suitability, what amount they can afford, and so on and so forth, right? So, for example, we have a couple million. And I don't know, I mean, I usually put in monthly payments. With annual? Okay.
No.
30-year? So you can basically pick different scenarios here. You can pick 20, you can pick 30, you can pick 10, whatever you want, right? Now, it has here, and just so you know, I pick guaranteed, non-guaranteed term, or simplified. Simplified just really means that there's no medical required with the simplified. So of course, I hear a lot of people say, I don't want to do the medical and so forth. If you are healthy enough, and I think almost everybody's healthy enough to do it with medical, unless you know the agent you're dealing with and so forth, you'll have to discuss and find a reason why you don't want to do a medical. But try to always do the medical because it's less expensive, right? Unless you do like a final expense. Final expense, we're going to get into a little bit more details with age because a lot of people are asking about final expense. I've had people that are 35, 40 years asking for it. I'm not aware of. I think most of the carriers, they want you to be a certain age, and I think the least amount of age I've ever seen is like 48, and normally it's over 50, 55 for the final expense, right? But I know there's one that allows you to do 48 or 49. But there's got to be a really good reason for something like that, right? And just keep in mind, there's still, I believe they all still pull an MIB report, so it's not just, I can just go and do this, you know, there are cancer policies, there are a lot of policies that your agent can explain to you. Cancer policies, I think there's a form you fill out, you got to do like a little, description of what it is, and you have to be cancer-free for a certain amount of years. So there's a whole bunch of different forms of scenarios that you can go in here. People die, people with diabetes, whatever it is, there's a different form in the system here that you can get. And tomorrow I'll go into detail and show you more of that. So all we do in this case here, I'm going to go non-tobacco, healthy, everything's great, okay. I normally don't try if I look at a person, and I hate to like stereotype somebody, but if I look at somebody and I'm going to say, well, I don't know, I try never to prefer best, unless it's somebody like Marion Patterson, I'll just prefer best for her. But most of the other people I would normally put based on, whatever it is, I will always ask the question, if you're healthy, is there medical issues and so forth. If there's nothing, I'll probably just start off with prefer non-medical. So, yeah, I'm sorry, non-tobacco.
MIB report?
Medical information.
Oh, they pulled that from the bureau?
Yeah, they pull your driver's license records and so forth. Prescription history and so forth. So they pull, it's almost like a credit bureau system where information is dumped. I'm going to tell you some stories that are very scary that people need to remember when you're going to your doctors.
Yeah.
Be very careful with what your doctors are doing, right?
Wow.
Let me run this one, I'm going to go into some detail. Normally at your age, I always put a waiver premium. And then, you put the other things based on, yes, you want the return premium? Okay. Close. And there's your two companies here that will do a return. It's annual, okay. Okay, 20-year term. So you have two companies here, American General and you have ING. Basically for the ING it's $9,990 annually, and for American General it's $10,818 annually. Okay? Annually, yes, that's an annual one we after.
That's return of premium.
This is a return of premium. Yeah, guaranteed. But you only pick one. The simplified, you only have a choice, either guaranteed, non-guaranteed, or simplified. Simplified means no medical. So you can pick simplified if you're not the person's not going to do medical. Right? Lab, paramedic, that kind of stuff. Right? And again, that's simplified. Right. Oh, there's a big difference. We can run one right now, simplified and a non and a guaranteed.
I never checked.
Okay.
Right, so, because guaranteed and not guaranteed are the one.
That you normally, yeah, that's what
I
you
never saw the
normally.
difference.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
So that's basically it. Now, there's, if you look here, it'll tell you different ways of submitting the application.
Yeah, can you just back it up and do the simplified portion of what that is, what is the difference that it's going to be?
There's going to be major things. More than likely, this is not going to be counted. You're probably not going to have it. I didn't think so. Simplified just meaning there's a few carriers that's going to do it. The next thing, you know what, I'm going to tell you about this in a second. I probably should have touched upon it before. If you flip over, like I said, I think the company's done a really, really good job identifying things to you guys on where to go for certain policies. If you look, flip over a couple pages that has the preferred New York life insurance carriers. If your book is in the same section, it's a couple pages over. They've identified who you go to for what amount of insurance and so forth. So stick to this list. Don't create, you're going to find companies here. I don't ever go outside of what this list says. I've never done that before. You can do for, it'll tell you here, non-medical underwriting. If this is in New York, right, you can go to an IUL policy. If you want a non-medical underwriting, you go to AXA for up to $500,000. A return of premium, in that case, for non-medical, there is no return of premium. It says no. There's none of those for that particular one. But if you want a whole life, there is whole life. Forrester will give you a whole life up to $250,000. Right? So there's a little cheat sheet that will tell you exactly what to do here. Right? If you follow this, it's really, really good because so far it's 100% proof for me that I've tested it.
So one more time for me, I always get messed up with this. Non-medical underwriting, if it says no, what is that?
It means it's not available. It's not available. No,
So
it's
you
not
gotta go
available.
to regular underwriting.
Well, no, you just have to go to one if you're looking for, like, for example, if you are looking for something that's non-medical underwriting, you're looking for a whole life policy, it says right there, whole life, and that's Fuji Forrester, right? The only one that says up to $250,000 is Forrester. So Forrester.
So you don't have to do anything up to $250,000.
Correct. Well, I'm not saying nothing. I'm not telling you that. There's a phone that you get on the phone, you get Foresters, you have to get appointed first. So what happens is they give you an ID number. When you're with a client, you pick up the phone, you have to be with the client. You can't leave and then do a conference call and so forth. You're on the phone with the client, you're sitting there with the client, you call the number, there's a number when you get appointed with Foresters, you call that number and they do the phone interview with the client. It's just maybe a 5-minute conversation. And then they pretty much approve you at that point in time. They'll give you information that goes back to Foresters and so forth. They pull the money and you're on your way. Yeah, it's pretty good. I actually, everybody told my dad that no, you can't have, you're never going to get insurance and so forth. And I mean, my mom and dad is like the best case scenario I can tell you for a lot of things. People that had insurance and they thought they had everything. They put their policy in a little, these older people, they have a little canister and they put the insurance policy and they walk around with that for years and years and years, right? 30 years later, they open up this canister and the policy that they thought was big time then, right? It's like $100,000 now, which is, I don't know, my mom can't live off $100,000, right? So, my mom's healthy, so nobody knows, who will go first or whatever, but she had a term rider attached to the whole life policy for my dad, and guess what? That expired. They had no clue it expired, right? So there's a lot of things that I've learned just looking at my parents. So we went ahead and I bought a couple additional policies for my dad. My mom's the beneficiary, so I bought the policy, and it's a very easy process we did for them. My dad's had, 3 strokes, a pacemaker, quadruple bypass, and he's still kicking. I'm telling you, the man's still kicking. 4 years old, so I'm just telling you, it's possible to do all this. And he just had the policy and so forth. He just told me the other day, you might as well stop it because I'm not going to die anytime soon. I said, it's not about you, it's about my mom. Anyway, so the company did a really, really good job creating these things here for us. Use the cheat sheet. Now, New York, of course, we see New York is different than the rest of the country. So, you have the information there for them, right? Then you have the annuity carriers. I think Zuri will talk a little bit more about these things because I think he's got a really nice concept that I want you guys to hear, right? So that's basically it for that. So I didn't think it was going to find anything there. Those kind of things, no. Okay. So the one that I'm running for that's simplified, that's something that you probably have to reach out to. I know for sure a couple companies does it. I know Transamerica does it. I know Foresters does it. Outside of the state of New York, I know United Mutual of Omaha does it. And they're pretty competitive outside of the state of New York. So those are the companies I'm aware of that does it. And then, whoever else is, no more, by all means, let us know wherever you are. So in this case, I knew it was going to run a simple line. Yep. And all you have to do is hit back, and this thing is pretty easy. So we're going to do a regular one without the return of premium, and then all I did was just get rid of that one no return of premium and view all, and then you'll get a ton.
Sorry. Accidental death benefit, I'm new to this. So if somebody would have a policy where they die in a car accident, does that mean they're not covered unless they have that
No,
accident?
you're covered. It just you get a dump. You get depends. Some companies have a maximum, like more. So if you have 250,000, or
500 or something.
they'll give you an extra 250,000 for accidental, like airplane. So it's just a rider you're getting.
Excellent. Thank you.
American General for that particular one. So American General 2002, 36 annually. Lincoln, Penn. Again, I stick to my list. Sometimes, I see other companies come up above that, and it's not really my call, but I'll tell you, if you understand a company underwriting process and you understand certain things, sometimes it'll look really, really nice here, that, the quote is really good. But I have learned that sometimes what will happen is if you know the underwriting procedure and so forth, I will go where they're very friendly towards the client, they're going to listen, they're going to talk to you. Some companies don't. They just flat out either approve you or deny you, and then you come back and you can't really rebuttal. And I rebuttal everything. I don't sit down, I make sure, there's got to be a really good answer why I would just say, okay, it's done, right? I'll go back and I'll fight as long as I know there's a clause and there's a reason for it. So you would pick here. Now you see this column here where it's paper form, e-app, and so forth. You can submit your application however you want as long as they give you the choice. I know American General is usually paper. I've never seen that one online. Banner has a drop ticket, and they're pretty simple. There's on the QS2 side, I believe, or ORG side, there's like a little quick webinar thing you can learn how to do these things and register to do the paperless ones and so forth. So you can do it there. Right? So if you decide, this is what I do too, you can email the quotes to your client or I don't ever email quotes to clients because I don't want them to sit there and start going through a whole other thing. I want to go sit there and I want to explain it. So I do not email quotes to clients. That's just me. Afterwards, when I'm done and I explain everything, then then if they want to see anything else, I'll do it. I have learned that I don't give too many options. What's a drop ticket? The drop ticket is just another, you put in information in William Penn or Banner, and it's just information you're putting on the client, and the information goes in there and it goes directly to ORG.
So how many public options, or you just going to pick the quote? That's good.
It depends on the client. I don't actually prejudge anything for a client. If I have, I'll give you a couple scenarios, and maybe I'll go more into details tomorrow with scenarios I had in Florida.
Hey, Sattie, with US Life in New York, which is American General, they actually have, they're called a quick ticket now available also.
Oh, do they?
In New York now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, though. That's good.
How much?
Quick ticket.
I don't, well, now New York has it. I run a lot of, I've done the Banner drop ticket. I always, if I'm sitting, you have to sit in front of a client, I always get things signed. I just do it to have paper, track of everything, and I just keep it with me. That's just me,
Exactly what it is.
Right. I do it, I keep things, and it's quicker and easier to do the e-app. Like when you're running illustrations, and we'll get more into detail with the more complicated, like an IUL, you gotta have illustrations, you gotta have the illustrations. So when you're with a client, it's gonna get a little tougher to make sure that the client signs off on certain things. I'm sorry, Charles?
No, I was going to say, I've used the e-ticket on several applications, and it's really, really simplistic. It really is accessible with the technology. It's pretty powerful tool. But you got to follow up quite a bit with reference to making sure
I'll tell you
everything's in place.
something. The reason I'll do it just because it's faster for the client, but I've learned to keep information on my clients and keep records because 10 years later, I might have an opportunity to go back and deal with that client. And when you do these e-apps sometimes, the information goes and then you don't have the records anymore. So I keep files and I follow up and that's just a little, it's just customer service as far as I'm concerned. You make sure you keep up with your clients, right? So that's why I've gotten to the point where even one of these little sheets will even do it, if you get information gathering sheet you keep on your so forth, you do have some information you're sending back. I didn't know that, I didn't send it to you.
I did tell those.
Okay, so they're still signing it then?
Yeah, they're still signing.
So then, I don't know, I mean, like I said, I'm in and out and I don't wanna go back and forth, so I just get everything signed right then and there.
We are old school, don't worry, we
Okay.
them.
So that's just me, okay? So anyway, so what I would do in this particular case, I have a client, you're asking me for quotes and so forth. I'm gonna research things before I get to a client, I don't just get there and then just out of the blue, if I know information about it, right? So I'll research and see whatever I can gather information before I get
What
there.
about the client, just how the meeting you might recommend?
Me, I know which companies I like for certain things. I go with that list that the company provides me. I do not go outside of that list.
So you're researching, you're researching before you're.
If I have an appointment, I have a kitchen table with you, and I know a little bit of information, or if you're gonna bring me to a kitchen table, it's your client, you know the person, hopefully, it's not just a cold call, right? You're gonna give me as much information as you can on the client, and I will try and see what I can gather before I get there. I don't wanna get there and then I'm like searching and I need to know what I have to get. And Rocky, if people think I'm really strange with this, but wherever we go, I get there, I get to the hotel, and I'll tell you something, I will print, Alex, you guys all know if I have extras, which I hope I never have extras, but if I do, I'll give it to you all, whoever I'm doing field training for. But I'll print 5 banner, 5 American General Term, 5 index policy application, and I have it all in a bag. And I take that bag and I'm filling out my application, get everything done, so when I leave, I don't have to come back and forth and ask. So I always have, no matter what, Rocky's bags, mine, whatever, where he goes, I make sure I have packages ready for him to go, that he doesn't have to go and search and do whatever, right? So it's just information you have and you keep with you. But you gather information on the clients so you know what you're doing.
And every state application is different.
Right, so you have to make sure it's per state, right?
Yeah.
So, and then so for example, so this one here with American General, I'll tell you right now which one I would pick. I would go with the American General, I would go with Banner. I'll go back in and I'll edit this, and again, I don't know, there might be easier ways to do this, but I learned my little ways of doing things, and that's how I just, so I would go in and I would pick now, right, before I had all carriers, right here, I just let the system pick everything for me. I would now go and customize it. So I just hit customize, and I'm gonna pick the carriers I want now based on the whole list, and I will email myself the quote. So when I get to the client, I already know what I'm dealing with, right? That's if I have an idea. If not, then you check it. Oh, yeah, the basic information, but you don't want to, if I don't know anything or you're one with me, I mean, you gather information before, if you think. Should take this long. Yeah. Should take this long. So I would normally go and, this will take 1 more minute. Probably take it. Connection?
Did the server go down?
Yeah.
I think the server went down, man.
But she just said it booted off too. Check.
All right, so we can continue though, right?
Maybe too many people on to
All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is, we're going to go through a few more things here real quick. Tomorrow I'm going to have some more handouts with ORG information, contact information. I'll actually give you how you submit your package to ORG. I'll have everything ready for you so you'll have it when you come in, right? So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to go run, as soon as it comes up, I'll run a term code, IUL.
I think you can go to mine if you want. Happen to mine if you want.
how are you?
Just refresh.
Yeah, just press refresh.
Got one of them T-Mobile things? All right. Oh, she got it. Back in action.
life quotes. No, it's, Mike, okay, I'll just move on to something.
I saw it.
Come back to that, okay? So you see here, if you don't want to do the e-app or you don't want to do, you know, the drop ticket and so forth, if you want forms, right? So you go back to the life and you go to forms right here and you click on forms. And in this particular case, we can do, I don't know, we could pick banner or American General, I guess. Yeah. So you pick the company, you just select company, and let's do New York. American General New York, and then, which is US Life, just so you guys know, because I do get calls when you're checking to get, you're requesting to get appointed with a carrier. It's US Life of New York. It's not American General for the New York one, right? And then you click New Business. State is New York. It only picks New York in this particular case, because you did the New York option before. Product type, and you pick whichever product. So in this particular case, it's term or universal. All forms are right here, just so you guys know, right? So it doesn't matter what product we're picking, it's all right here. And then product name, and you have to pick the proper product name. So if it's a return of premium, you get that because the rider comes along with it, right? So in this case, we were doing a regular select with a term. And all your documents are right here. Right here is everything you need, and I normally email it to myself, and then if I email it and I know enough information on the client, I type up the forms as I need it, the applications, and then I print it and take it with me to get signed. If I don't, whatever missing information, I fill it out when I'm getting in front of the client to talk to them, right? Or you can just hit print and it prints. But everything is really here. Now there's other documents here you can read if you have a specific case, like the client is a pilot, the client's whatever. You know, there's different disclosures for each client, right? So you have to go through the list and see. I just had a client that is, this is a new form. I never saw this because not every carrier requested, but I had a client that's over 70 years old, and there's a separate disclosure you have to do with anybody over 67 with like American General, for example. So there's different forms within the system you'll use. And these are all things you'll learn on the field training. So this is the forms. And then Chris was talking yesterday with regard to disability income. Here is the whole section here with ORG with disability. So just so you guys know, there's a group dedicated just for disability income policies. Anybody's looking for any of that. And they're really, really good. So you got the sales material, forms, and everything. So you can go to disability right here, and you get the information. There's a calculator and so forth in this part here. All right. Let's go back to, I'm going to go to WinFlex Web now. I'm going to run just a couple quick illustrations. You can get different riders. It depends on the state. I don't know much about New York to see if there's a company that includes that. I know there's like different riders. It just depends on the state. You got to just check the system, and then those kind of things. You know, sometimes don't get caught up with riders, okay? Sometimes you gotta really understand riders and policies to really understand. Sometimes, and I know for sure it happened in Florida recently, right? I wrote a couple policies, and I have the client wanted long-term care, but they wanted an IUL. I only know there's one company out there that runs an IUL policy with a long-term care rider, and I think it is Nationwide. Allianz has it now? Long-term care, not critical.
The long-term care rider.
They do it now? Okay. Well, a lot of companies weren't doing it before, but what I did is I ran the long-term care information separately, right? So I was writing a separate long-term care policy, and then I wrote the regular IUL policy, and it ended up being cheaper for the client, less expensive, and it wasn't eating away the life insurance portion of it too. But now, just be careful, because with a long-term care, if you're writing a separate policy, some states require you to have a certification to do a separate long-term care policy. So just make sure, don't just go write a long-term care if you don't understand it, right? It's a little bit more detailed to it. But I really think a long-term care policy is extremely, extremely good to have, because age catches up to you, and I think it is really a well-needed policy for many, many people. So I started just incorporating, I started getting a lot of long-term care policies recently. Let's go to with FlexWeb. So check out the writers. I really can't tell you, and there's age limits on certain writers too. So like the waiver premium writer, I think over 55 you can't even get it. Right. So you just gotta check it out and then read. You know how I learned about a lot of this? I would run the illustration and I would read every word of the illustration and underline it and make sure I understood, because some of the writers expires, very, very quickly. So you just check out these things. With FlexWeb. So this is FlexWeb, and most of you that are licensed, you'll have access to this, or we'll give you access to it, okay? I don't know, I love this system because the other companies we were with, we didn't have the option of just running a lot of these illustrations, and the other companies, like I said, even when you're running the illustrations, you were having to download every company's program in your system. So I like just going to one source and get the majority of it instead of going from site to site to site to do things, right? There's only a couple things that, sometimes there's like a little bit of issues running them directly through this. I know Allianz, sometimes you gotta go directly to the Allianz source to run it because you get somehow, I don't know what it is, it's within WinFlex, it doesn't run the right way. And I think Trans-America, those two, you gotta go directly to their site. But we have access, we've got everything ready for you guys. You have to use parallel. Parallel, you gotta get to the Explorer file. Yeah. Well, I have a Mac and I have to split, I have a parallel portion of it, so I'm able to run both. You just gotta remember, not get like discouraged if you're seeing it, you're trying to make it work, right? But I have the Mac and it works fine. Right? So let's just do one. Like I said, you'll get used to the ones you like, and it's not about what you like, it's what's good for the client. So if there's something that you know of, and there's another company that offers a better product, basically the kind of scenario, the better product for the client, you gotta have to go with that and learn about it. So in this case, I'm gonna just run, and I know Zui's really, really good with some of the other ones. I started running a few Allianz before, but I think he's gonna be really, better in explaining different things here for you on that. So I'm gonna just do a basic one, right? Because we don't wanna get into too much detail to confuse you. And when it's needed, we will go into details for you. Okay. All right, so the ones that I've tested out almost every single one of these. And the one I like, and again, like I said, it depends on different situation, is the Elite Index with American General. I think it's really good. No, it's not even. Oh, okay. So, 44. And again, when you're going into FlexWeb, I'm sorry, I'm just putting information here. These tabs right here are the tabs you're really going to be using. That's what you're going to go back and forth with, right? Don't use things that you don't know what it is, because don't complicate it, because so many of you want to fill in, you think you have to fill in every blank. You don't have to fill in every blank. You just have to know what is needed in the system, and it takes time to learn all this, right? So I'm going to do this as for non-tobacco, state is New York. I'm going to solve for. So this here is a trick, and I want to run one that was really good reading their video, but it got one yourself. In this case here, you want a 1.5 million, right? So I can just give you an advice here.
You see, you have a person's budget.
Right. Well, but that's why you need an FNA, because I would almost tell you that I would have to know what your needs are for 1.5 million, right? You know, that's what it is. But then money-wise, now, what you would normally, this is what we do, and again, you have to do the FNA because you can't like ring this, right? But I've seen people ring it. I have seen so many people ring it, and I can walk in and replace every one of those policies with my eyes closed. And I'll show you exactly why. I'll show you exactly here why. You want 1.5 million, right? Most people, what I see them doing is they'll go in there and they'll solve, let's just say we know you want 1.5 million, but we don't know what the premium is, right? So most people go in there and they'll say, okay, we want 1.5 million, and we're gonna let the system solve for your premium. I'm sorry, we know the amount you want, let the system solve for premium, right? You could start, that's a starting point, but that's not your finishing point, right? So you let everything go like exactly how it's set up. And then I don't go to disbursements right away because I don't know that I want to go start putting in, but you want to start taking money out yet. So this is a basic policy. So we're going to do current illustrated rate. We're going to solve for current level or increasing. We're going to leave it level and we're going to go back and forth and change a couple things for you, right? And I like monthly payment because my brain kind of figures it out a little bit different. So we're going to leave it at the monthly for now and go back and forth. Right. We're going to leave the waiver premium. And let's just hit calculate for now, right? This is about as basic as they come, and I've never ended up at this fair bar client. And I'll show you a lot of reasons why. And oh, see the little wheel spinning here? So that's how you know it's working. I run a lot of these, I love this. So right here, I'm going to tell you right here, you look right here, right? And this is like my little quick checkup here, and before you actually even open up the illustration, because sometimes it's not even worth it, right? So you want 1.5 million. Your initial premium is 11,000. This is here. Let's see here. 11,000. Your target premium here is 14,000. So let's open up this illustration. Let me just show you this. And this is what I read word for word. So when you guys play with one of these, you want to print one and read it word for word so you can see exactly how to read and what these policies are about, right? But I'm going to take you right to the pages that our information is on.
So what's target premium?
I'll show you. I'll come up with the whole thing right now, right? So you have here, it starts at age, it always takes you to the following age, right? It's usually supposed to be within 6 months of your birthday. So this one here, just so you know, this system here, it calculates based on 2%. The guaranteed amount is based on the 2% participation rate, right? And then the non-guaranteed part is based on it's always participation rate. The non-guaranteed the non-guaranteed participation rate here is 7.74 right here. So that's this column and then this column. Right here it's telling you that your annual premium, because although I want monthly, it's telling you my annual here. Your annual premium is going to be $11,346, right? And 10 years, and I always look at a breaking point in 10 years, and I don't like this for a couple of reasons. Right here, you're putting in $113,465, right? And then right here, you have your non-guaranteed part. I look at this amount because, you know what, I have one of these policies, not from this company, but I have another one, and I can tell you that one is running about 13%, right? Right here is what I don't like. And the reason when you're running this, remember this is insurance you're buying, that the system is calculated for insurance, because that's the goal is insurance. It's not for your savings at this point in time. You manipulate it to make it savings, right? But I let the system solve for your premium. And it's telling me if you want 1.5 million, then that's what it's getting here, right? So basically, a lot of your money's going towards the insurance. Now, you're 44 years old, and this is what I would actually sit there with the client. You're 44 years old, what is your goal? Is it savings? Is it death benefit? If it's death benefit and we go through your mortgage and all your debt, then we're going to tell you, okay, well, you need this much for 30 years or 20 years or whatever. And we just kind of make sure that by the time we start and end, somewhere we're replacing that term policy. If it's a 20-year term, I got to be able to replace that where you're getting savings and we're replacing within a certain time period, right? So you play back and forth with the numbers. And I don't have a secret formula, you just kind of learn what numbers will work. I didn't put a term right or anything. I would do a separate term policy for doing something like this. No, this is a universal. Yeah, this is an index. So basically here it's telling me this here there's no cash buildup for how many years? 5 years, no cash, right? 0, 0, 0. I don't like this.
That's why it's that these are like because of 5 years. 5 years of cash flow.
Right. I mean, I don't know, you know, everybody's gonna have their different opinions on this, so.
No, you're right.
But this is my opinion, so we're gonna all talk, and then tomorrow we're gonna really get into this, what's good, and everybody else's opinion,
Better than cash flow.
right?
I'm sorry, what's the difference between guaranteed and non-guaranteed?
So this here, right here, it has 2% guaranteed rate, that's 2% they're guaranteed,
Oh, the interest
right?
rate.
That's this, right, and then the 7.6 is not guaranteed, but it's all based on budget. Yeah, they can guarantee more than that, right?
Sattie, this is a very common question that you will have insured ask, you know, how come I don't have any cash value in the first 5 years? This is where you have to refocus them as to what this product is all about. It's not about saving, it's about life insurance.
Right.
All right, because predominantly this is a life insurance policy, not a savings account.
Right.
It can supplement retirement income, and that's the word you should always use. Supplement. Because you don't want somebody to say that, you know, you told me this was my retirement plan.
Right.
And supplement, but you want to change the focus here from savings to life insurance, and then say, first of all, you're not taking this out for 4 or 5 years. You're taking this out for a long time. Let's look at 10 years, 20 years, age 65, and you change the focus and expect. And after the 10 and 15 years, you start having more cash value than what you put in. Then that's a proper way of explaining the product.
But remember what I told you, the system's calculating this, but it's calculating for insurance, because that's what it's meant for, right? So that's what I'm telling you, it's gonna take your money because you're buying $1.5 million worth of insurance. Do you need $1.5 million worth of life insurance to go in there? These are all FNA questions. These are not questions that I can sit here.
Sonny, on this one, no matter what the illustration you're using, what you have to do is you look at the premium that someone's paying. Remember yesterday we went over the concept of leverage, right? So in this point, the client might look and focus on the cash value. Okay, there's no cash value being. Okay, at that point, then I would steer them, if I thought this was the best product, I'd say that you're going to pay $11,340 whatever dollars. If you die in the first year, they're going to pay $1.5 million tax-free to your beneficiary.
Yes.
Is that acceptable to you? Okay, so you focus them on what's important. You don't let their fear and their misunderstanding and your misunderstanding of what this is saying get in the way. Okay? Don't let that happen. So you focus them on what's important. They're going to pay 11 grand if they die, pay the 1.5 million. After 10 years, they're going to pay $113,000 in. Okay, and at that point, I'd say you paid $113,000 if you died in the 10th year. Do you think paying $1.5 million tax-free to your beneficiaries was a good deal? Is that a good use of your money? Now, if for some reason you wanted to get out, you can get out, and the net surrender value is, what's that, $47,000? Okay, so you get $47,000 back of the $113,000, and you have $1.5 million of coverage. Now, if you keep paying it, and you go all the way down to the 20th year, you pay $226,000. $226,000, and if you died in the 20th year, you're going to get $1.5 million. Is that a good leverage of your money for your family? And that's income tax free. Now, in the 20th year, you have cash value of about $176,000. You almost got all your money back. Is that a good deal for you?
Right.
Okay, so it's how you present it. You cannot let the consumer take you through it. You have to take the consumer through it. And like Sattie is saying, she might not sell this because there's going to be other plans you can make look a lot better than this. But that even looks good if you explain it right.
Right.
Where can they get that deal? What if they put that money in the bank? So they have, over 20 years, they had 200 and some odd thousand in the bank, and their family had no protection. Is that a better deal? I don't think so. So it's how you present, okay? And it's very simple. You do not have to make it complicated. You simplify, 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 otherwise no one's going to listen to you, and no one's going to move forward unless you simplify this, okay? And focus on the benefits they're receiving. And it's not the illustration. Illustration is not the benefit. What's the benefit? The protection for the family. Okay?
So, yes.
Now, on the 20th year, you die and you have a cash value, you get the face amount and plus the cash value?
No.
You cannot get the cash value, just the face amount.
Yes.
So where does the cash value go? To the company?
Can I add to that? It depends on what option you're taking. You could have option 1, level, benefit, or option 2, increasing benefit.
Well, this is the level illustration, so it's going to run the increasing limit.
Okay.
With the increasing illustration, you get the cash value in there and the benefit, right? So there's a difference.
since we're talking about level benefit, you actually get the face amount plus also plus the cash value. But the only thing is, as your assets grow, as your cash value grow, the amount of insurance you buy is lesser in the level benefit. So you're still getting both of them, but you're not buying as much insurance as when you started, because as your assets grow, the amount of insurance you buy is lesser.
Right. Well, for example, if you're looking here at 874 and your assets right now at 874, you have $366,000 in assets here, right? Basically, you're not buying $1.5 million worth of insurance. You're buying what? The difference with 366 minus 1.5. That's what you're buying in insurance, right? Because you've got the cash protecting you. So it's still, it's 1.5, so you're buying less and less and less, right? So that this is a level one, right? Now I don't know. I mean, I try not to remember we're doing insurance here. So the system calculated this for insurance, right? I would normally run something like this. I would look at the numbers, and I have to do the FNA to understand it. So what I normally would do, okay, we got 30 years here. Let's just say we take this out for 30 years. 30 years, and I try to, again, you gotta go with the benefits of the client, and I don't wanna get too technical, because tomorrow I think we're meant for the technical part of it, where we're gonna do the breakout, we're gonna do a little bit of the kitchen table to explain more. But normally what I would personally do is I would look at something like this and say, okay, you want $1.5 million worth of protection, know exactly what your reasons and so forth, what's the goal for you. What I would probably do, and again, I'm not going to put in all the illustration here, what I would probably do is say, okay, well, you've invested, you basically put in $1.3 million, and you really need $1.5 million, right? That's what you say you want. I would probably look at something like this and see what would a 30-year term be, because you're going out, depends on how far out we're going. A 30-year term policy, I would look and see what the cost is for $1.5 million. And then I would play with my numbers with the IUL, and I would reduce and reduce till I get you the same amount of savings. And it is possible to get the same amount of savings when you're playing with an IUL. Maybe I'll give you $1 million worth of a term, and I will give you $500,000 worth with an IUL, and I'm still giving you that savings or more. Right? So it's just a matter of playing. Like I said, I don't want to get too technical, but it really, there's a lot of things you can do with this. There's really, I mean, that's what I would do for myself, and I would make sure that the client gets the best deal that is out there. Right? We're not selling a pension, but we want savings too. Right? So we're going to get more into details with this, and I need to, enough of this? Okay. Let me just show you the same one here real quick for one more with the increasing.
That would be.
Page 9 is what the client has to sign if you do one of these policies. 8, excuse me.
So, and I normally will give the client the whole illustration, or I'll email them the illustration, and I'll take my one page out and sign, because you don't have to send back the company the entire illustration. You have to prove that you gave it, the client has it, and so forth. And then what you do is the signature page with your package, and then I attach the whole illustration and give it back to the ORG. I was just going to edit the application.
Yes.
So I'm just going to go ahead and edit this. I don't have to input all the information again, right? So I'm reading everything the same way. I'm going to solve for. I'm going to increase. I'm going to leave it here. Let me just show you what the increase is, and then I'll go to more details tomorrow. This right here is level or increasing. I'm going to do this as increasing. That's all I'm changing there.
Change the coverage if you wanted to.
Yeah, but then I have to go back, and I'm going to do a bunch of different illustrations tomorrow where I'm going to, the same scenario you gave me, and I'll make sure, you got to do a proper FNA to know what the goals are of the client, right? This is just like playing with illustrations here. So the same thing, the same goal with the savings you're getting could be met with a lot less of insurance here, but I still have to make sure that client's protected with some other way. I have to make sure they're protected for the time frame they need to be protected. So all I did here was I did increasing, and I did calculate. And you're going to see where the money's going and how it gets thrown over. What I also did here for you guys, I gave you, how to go and get contracted and so forth, what you need. So it'll have step by step to get contracted. You'll have that one page inserted here for tomorrow. And then we'll do a quick run through of that. Right here, I'm going to just show you this illustration real quick with the increasing what we were just talking about. Right here, you see where I'm increasing. You're paying a little, you're paying more money, right? Before it was what, I don't remember how much. This is 15,000, so this is 155,000, but your death benefit is increasing here. You see right here, it's 1.6 million instead of a level. But what's going on is a lot of the money staying towards, you have 122,000 right here. So basically, that 122,000, you're getting the increasing. So instead of 1.5 million, you're getting the cash value right here. So you continuously buy $1.5 million worth of insurance. Right. Because you're continuously buying 1.5 million here. The other way you were not. You were buying less and less and less. Okay? So
Let me just show them what happens when you run into a situation like this. If you really understand the person's financial need analysis, the dime, if you understand the dime plus, what happens is you'll find out why they need $1.5 million worth of insurance, for how long they need that insurance, right? So if we could accomplish that with them, ended up saving more money in the next 10 or 20 or 30 years, that's what you would want to do for the client. So most people don't want to take the time to do that for the client because they just make more money selling $1.5 million worth of insurance, where the guy for 5-6 years don't make any money back, right? I'm not disagreeing with that. You know, if that's what you come up with and that's what it is, but you have to look at this a little more practical. And the way I look at that, if just a scenario like that, let's say one really wants $1.5 million worth of insurance, right? That's what it costs. What was the cost of the $1.5 million? $11,000. Right? So I would figure out if he does $1.5 million, number one thing I want to make sure, what was the current age? 44. At age 44. So when somebody's age 44, you don't know 5 years from today, 10 years from today, what could happen for them, yes or no? Right? So you would always want to make sure that they have permanent insurance. Now I'm just telling you this like something you need to really understand. This is not, you're not going to learn this from ORG, right? So you got to make sure if somebody's 44, you want to make sure that you always give them insurance till they can actually go to age 100 if they will live that long. If they will live that long, you want to make sure that at least they have that chance that insurability will never be a problem later on in life. So you look at that scenario and say, okay, he wants $1.5 million. We could take maybe $400,000 and put in an index. Right? Now let's say this $400,000 costs, I don't know, $4,000. Right? Now we have $7,000 left over, yes? Right? So we can go play with this guy and say, well, we got to come up with $1.1 million for the insurance, right? That's what we got to come up with to make sure that we have this protection because the FNA said he needed it. So now you can look at a 10-year term, a 20-year, or a 30-year. I like to look at all of them because I want to show the client this. All right, I don't like giving clients too much options, but if you're dealing with a client like this, probably a sophisticated client, yes or no? Yeah. Right? Probably sophisticated. So now you got this $1.5 million insurance, and in 30 years, let's say it costs them $6,000. And it's a level term. For 30 years, they'll pay $6,000 for this insurance a year. That's about $700 a month, or $600 a month, somewhere in there, right? So if we were able to accomplish this with the 1.5, with the 1.1 million dollars worth of coverage, right? We now have, because 6 and 4 is 10, we now have another $1,000 there, right? We're able to go back and play with this number here, because now you got a total of $5,000 to spend. And I'm not saying it's $5,000, just give me a little scenario. You have to really take the time to play with these numbers with a customer. That's why it's important if you're going to go see a client, if you could get some data from them before you get there, you can play with this stuff a little bit. with them, right? Especially if you got, you know their income stream, what type of person you're going to see, what type of marketplace they're in, right? If you know all that stuff, you can play with it. So now you got this $5,000 here now instead of 4, right? You start playing with this number because you always want to make sure that the people, and in this case here, you would put an increasing rider on, for that insurance to go up because you want this insurance coverage to keep going up as the years go down this, right? Because every year from 20, 30 years to 29, it keeps going down, keeps going down, keeps going down. So because it keeps going down, you got a policy in place where the coverage keeps going up, right? So eventually, this thing will be like a seesaw, right? As that term policy gets closer and closer, the other one is going like this. And at some point, the client will have enough cash in here to cool this off, right? So if you got, let's say in 20 years later, you got $500,000 built up over here, right? When this policy starts to really start getting closer to the end, you'll start to see this is starting to go up more and more and more. So your cash starts building up, your insurance starts building up, and you're working your way out of a term policy. Because the term policy is either you're going to die on it, or it's going to run out on you. There's no other choice in it, right? And another thing we do also with the return of premium, because you can get these index policies where in 10 years, right? In 10 years, we'll run a return of premium for somebody like this and says, if the guy says, well, I like return of premium, I'm not going to argue with the client. You want to return of premium? Yeah, give you return of premium, right? And figure out what your money is for $400,000 return of premium. All right, just spending $9,000 on that return of premium, right? At the end of 10 years, you got $90,000 to get back, yes? Yeah. Right? So now you do an index, and you match it out, and see in the end of 10 years, if you can get them back 100% of their money, just like a return of premium, which one is better? Because the term is going to end, right? But if you can get them back at the end of 10 years, 20 years, 100% of the money that put it back, and it should happen the first 10. If you can make that happen for that client, that's better than a return of premium, right? You guys, did I get over your head there? All right, but I want you to understand the mechanics of that. Because the only way you understand this is by going on field training. The only way you understand this is by witnessing these things. By listening to each individual kitchen table appointment that you go on, how scenarios are different. And the more scenarios you go on, the better you get at it, at analyzing quickly what you got to get to. Okay, you got something you want to say to?
Yeah, I'd like to add to what you just said. It all starts from the FNA, and like Rocky says, the FNA for this person is 1.5 million. I'm sure we agree that most people don't have the insurance they need, as the FNA will find out. And you start breaking it down, but yesterday someone asked Dan a question, how often do you go visit a client? This is a perfect example. Let's say in this case you sell somebody based on their financial ability now, $500,000 term insurance. You did your FNA, so you have the door open to say, listen, we'll come back in 5, 6 months or a year, or they may have a change of job coming up that they'll get an increase in pay. So those are events that give you a chance to say, we can revisit back in 6 months or in a year. You did your FNA, they know what they need. Bottom line, they can only afford $500,000, whatever term or UL, but you leave the door open to go back to complete the work, and it's a process. Like our friend says, you don't eat an elephant in one sitting, but you know, that's how you service your client as you go along.
Okay. So basically, you guys, you understand how this mechanics of this really works, right? You got to be sitting with each client in that. It requires a little more work because now with this, instead of me doing one with just one policy and index and say, hey man, thank you ma'am, slam the door and be gone, I now got to fill out now a term policy for application, and then I have to do an index, right? And then there's a form also that you have to have that you need to have them sign that application. So when you order the paramed, you don't order it from this company and then this company. With the form signed, one blood work, it gets done both ways. Okay, so you don't have to like say, I have to order 2 paramed. No, it's just one paramed where you have to have them sign the form, giving them the right to use that to another insurance company. All right, I'll bring back the order.
No, that's pretty much it, and then we can we'll continue tomorrow or something else.
Okay, Dewey, you want to jump in there now?
Is that all the
Yeah, let's get him in there now because he's got a lot to cover there. We want to